Hello and welcome to the show. So, today on the show, Abuja businesswomen are building a bridge to greater sales. These are updates on the Brunch and Bond, or should I say the Brunch and Bonding session that we had of the Ladies Business Network in Abuja on Thursday. Thursday, the 22nd of June 2023. The venue was at the Charm restaurant in Maitama, and that's Charm with an E at the end, if I remember correctly, in case you want to check out the place. Didn't seem like a bad whining and dining establishment. So excuse me. So if you're looking for a place to take the missus out to, or looking for a place to take your hubby out on, then it's a not a bad place to consider. So it's on Jerry Ghana Street. Seems to be a very popular street. Not far from the Hilton Hotel. The menu was cool. It was good company. But the business conversations that we had with the ladies of the Brunch and Bond Business Network was absolutely exquisite. And like I said at the beginning, it was all around building greater sales in our businesses. In yesterday's episode, I gave a rundown. Okay, well, not yesterday, because I think I recorded that episode maybe 2 or 3 days ago. But if this is your first time of listening to the show today, then it might as well be yesterday's episode. So in yesterday's episode, I gave a rundown of the industries or the business segments that were present. So if you listen to the last episode, you're going to get a full scope of the number of people that were there and the industries that were represented. But let's just say for now, it spanned everything from business systems and apps all the way through Medicare and fashion. So listen to yesterday's episode for more details. And the focus of today's episode is to go into more details on what my discussion with the ladies are. I remember during the session, I wanted to know what the politically correct way of referring to a group of women is, because I wasn't sure if me, a dude, saying ladies was going to sound condescending. They seem to be happy with that, so I refer to them as ladies throughout the whole session. But just in case I happen to be behind the time and the terms I'm using are not politically correct, then please hit me up, let me know, because I wouldn't want to run foul of modern day social and business conventions. So, where was I? Yes, so we're going to go into details, explore some salient issues that came up in the course of our discussions, as well as the Q&A session. Now, there was a lot to talk about, so I doubt I'll be able to exhaust it in today's episode. So let's just see how it goes. We'll tackle some issues here, and whatever it is that we're not able to address within the time frame, we'll throw off into another episode. So, okay, there were three main questions that were addressed overall on the day, and I handled two of those questions. The first question was around having the perfect sales process for your business. The second question was on customer retention strategies or tactics, something like that. And then the final question was getting your staff excited to sell. So my co-anchor or my co-host or my co-presenter, my co-tutor, my co-whatever, was the wonderful coach Ojugo. Although she corrected me that it's not Ojugo, because I've gone my whole life pronouncing the name Ojugo. She pointed out that there's an I in there. And I confirmed from my wife that that is the case. So it's actually Oji Ugo. So Coach Oji Ugo. I know I probably will make the same mistake again throughout the recording because I've been pronouncing Ojugo all my life. So anyway, so the wonderful coach Oji Ugo handled the second bit about customer retention, tips, tricks, strategies, and those sorts of things. And then I handled the first two questions, or rather the other two questions, which was having the perfect sales process for your business and then getting your staff excited to sell. Now, for those of you who've been listening to the podcast, you know that my usual fashion, I don't give straight yes or no answers because everything is contextual. And I like to break things down into the smaller questions so that when we understand the nitty-gritty, how all the small things work, we can build up a much more fuller picture that lets us know exactly where it is that we need to go and what it is that we need to address. So, for having the perfect sales process, we broke it down into three main questions. Number one, is there such a thing as the perfect sales process? Number two, what are the components of this said process? Then number three, what makes a system foolproof and what makes it failure proof? So on the first question, is there such a thing as a perfect sales process? The answer is yes. What I advertised the ladies, sorry, not advertised, what's the other word? What's the word I'm looking for? Advised. Yes, what I advised the ladies to focus on was I was going to spill the beans, let them know what the perfect sales process is. And my advice to them was, don't overthink it. This is ancient, and this is trusted, and it's true across all times, places, cultures. I mean, you name it. Except if we run into a bunch of aliens who do business differently in another galaxy. So, this thing is perfect. It doesn't need fiddling with. It doesn't need changing. The only challenge is to figure out how this perfect sales process applies to you in your own industry and your own unique business context and ambitions. Because if you listen to the previous episode, you'd have seen that the example that we gave was Mary Kay launching a beauty care and skin line. That's the $1 billion international American company, the Mary Kay beauty line. If you are a guy listening to the show, never heard of Mary Kay before, welcome to the club. I didn't know about Mary Kay until I went for my master's program and I saw the reps all over the place. And so, since I'm interested in business, I thought, okay, this is an interesting way to run a company, and so I researched into them. So if you're a guy, never heard of Mary Kay, listen to the previous episode, you'll be caught up to speed. All the ladies listening, or at least Nigerian ladies listening right now, I think you all know who Mary Kay, or what Mary Kay is. I don't know if Mary Kay is alive today or not. So the examples that we looked at were Mary Kay and then Stephanie from Brunch and Bond Ladies Business Network, to try and show how, whether taking an inbound approach or an outbound approach, I mean, whatever business philosophy or sales philosophy that you take, to see how there are different ways of approaching the market and exposing your product or your service to the wider society, to the wider market. So it's just a matter of trying to figure out, what industry are you in? What are you trying to build? What's your unique business situation? So we take these principles from the perfect sales process, we adapt it to our own situation, and we don't try and fuddle things too much. So the elements of the perfect sales process that I explored with them were prospecting, that's number one, number two, qualification, and then number three, discovery. Let me repeat it. Number one, prospecting. Number two, qualification. Number three, discovery. I pointed out to the ladies that there are other steps to the sales process, but for some reasons, which I'll explain, I didn't tackle the others. Now, hanging out with the ladies made me realize that sometimes these technical terms can throw people off. Because as I was speaking, I noticed some people trying to make notes, and anyway, let's just say, using technical terms all the time, you can throw people off. So it's something that we should also pay attention to in our businesses, because I've made podcasts in the past where I've mentioned that photographers should stop saying all the technical stuff, because your clients don't know anything about an f-stop or an aperture or anything. They only know that I like this picture because the background is soft. So you talking about apertures and f-stops, you're throwing people off. And I'm sure that those of you in other industries, maybe in the beauty industries, you have that thing as well. You'd be talking about the dermis or the epidermis or the sebum or the, whatever, all that technical skin stuff. So your clients don't know what an epidermis or a subdermis or a proper dermis is, so it's not a good idea to use that in the sales process. The same thing with photographers. And so that was one mistake that I've been making for way too long. So instead of using the terms prospecting, qualification, and discovery, I'm going to be substituting. Yeah, that's a tongue twister. So I'll be substituting it here with more reasonable expressions of the same ideas. So if you do call me to have a presentation or some discussion with members of your staff, with your organization, yes, I will mention the traditional terms: prospecting, qualification, discovery, closing, all those other things. I'll mention it because everybody needs to know those terms, but as the conversation goes on, I'm going to substitute it for other terms that folks can relate to. So this is me running the substitution now. So these are the stages that we explored. Number one, the first stage: where are my customers? These are people who might have a need for my product or my service. So that's the first part of the question. Where are my customers? Who are the people that have a need for my product or service? And how can I map out a plan to go and meet them exactly where they are? That, in simple terms, is what prospecting is. And so that is stage one. Stage one is the where are my customers? Who are the people that have a need for my product or service? How can I come up with a plan to go and meet them either online or offline? Now, these are the contextual things that I am talking about now. So for Mary Kay, Since she started her business in 1963, if I remember correctly. I really should have checked those dates so I don't put out false figures. Anyway, so let's just assume that I'm off and it's the other way around, 1936. Let me just go with 1963. So she starts her business in 1963, or whenever it is that she started. So then, where are my customers? Who are the people that have a need for my skincare routine? How can I meet them? The plan, obviously, would have been offline, real world. And that is what determined how Mary Kay went on to build her business $1 billion empire. Now, the thing is, for Stephanie, who is building a business in well, she's been doing this for 3 years. So let's say 2020 or 2019. Who's doing it in 2019? There are options for meeting the potential customers offline. And if you remember, those of you who listened to the previous episode, for Stephanie, Instagram is a big thing. That's where she's hitting people up from the website, sending people straight to WhatsApp. Basically, her whole strategy is built around Instagram DMs and WhatsApp to get people chatting, to do it offline. So, where are my customers doesn't necessarily mean you have to trek up and down. It doesn't mean you have to work a tire. It doesn't mean you have to stroll over or drive all over Abuja or drive all over Lagos. There might have been a time when that was the case, but now that is not absolutely the case because you can find people online. So whether it's online or offline, I'll leave that for you to determine according to what it is that you're trying to build, your business temperament, peculiarities of your goals or your personal schedules. But anyway, that's what prospecting is. So step one, where are my customers? Who are the people that need my product or my service? How can I map up the plan to get to where they are? Exactly. For Mary Kay, it was, I'm going to put on my shoes, I'm going to get my samples, and I'm going to go and meet them in church. I'll go and meet them in their house. I'll go and meet them in the office. I'll invite them over to my own house, or I will go and have a makeup party in their own houses where they can invite their own friends who also have that problem, that need. That was the answer to the problem. So for Stephanie in 2019, the answer is people who are interested in beauty hang out online. There might be some beauty people on TikTok, but she decides that the people she's looking for are on Instagram, and she wants to engage them via chat. And so that's it. The whole strategy is get people to my website. They click on this, it sends them directly to WhatsApp chat. If it's WhatsApp chat, I'm now in their phone box. Is it inbox? That'll be phone box. So me and them, we're having personal conversations one-on-one. My chances go up. I get them in Instagram DM. The whole thing is the same. Switch them to WhatsApp. So that's it. Where are my customers? Stage one. Number two, how do I figure out if this person I'm talking to is the perfect potential customer to invest time with? Because whether you're Mary Kay or whether you're Stephanie, the challenge is the same. I'm going to go and meet these people in church. In church, I'm going to talk to 8 ladies. Out of the 8 ladies, how do I know to continue to spend time with A, B, and C because it looks promising, and I'm going to ignore D, E, and F because they're just curious, and I definitely won't talk to G and H because G and H, they're just time wasters. They're never going to buy. And it's the same thing with Stephanie. How do I figure out if the person that I'm talking to is the perfect customer to invest time with? Or the people that are coming through the website and hit me up through WhatsApp, and those people that hit me up on the DM, how am I going to decide who is worth spending time with? Because if, sorry, where was I? Okay, yes. So, because if the person is not worth spending any time, if the person is not worth spending any time with, you're not going to be able to move the business deal forward. And that's because when we are looking at, we're trying to figure out who the perfect potential customer is, there are a couple of questions that we're trying to figure out. Who has a want? Who has a need? Who can afford? And who has a sense of urgency? That's who's getting ready to make decisions anytime soon. Because sometimes some elements of this matrix might be missing, and the more elements you have missing, the less likely it is that the person is worth spending any time with because the person is not going to buy. The example that I give always is with wedding photographers, because I'm sure that you guys will be able to relate, that this makes sense. If you're talking to a bride who wants wedding photography, she thinks she needs it. It's a must. She must have it for that day. In fact, no correct wedding photography, you might as well say the wedding didn't happen. So that's the want and the need thing. The next is afford. She doesn't have to be able to afford it exactly, but you guys need to have realistic expectations around what the service is, how much it's going to cost, what's going to be provided. Because if you're an Abuja photographer and right now the market is up, well, I'm just guessing because I've been out of it for a while, so I'm not sure. So let's say right now the market is around 300k to 500k for, let's say, basic wedding coverage. If this lady thinks that's expensive, a reasonable thing would be much more like 120k, 150k. Maybe that's because she's coming from Makudi in Benue State, where those are the prices. And, you know, since she left Makudi, she hasn't done any research. Or maybe her sister got married 10 years ago and that's how much that they charged. Those expectations are unrealistic. And there's nothing you can do to move a 150k person all the way up to 300k. That is twice the budget. Chances are it's not going to work. You're going to have to do a lot of education. And that's a battle that I think is hard to win. And I don't think you should invest time with. So you can see how if we're off on the money expectations, and let's just make it worse. Let's say that not only are the money expectations off, she just got recently proposed to, but the families haven't started talking yet. There is no wedding date. She wants to finish her NYC first. She wants to finish her National Youth Service Corps before the wedding. And let's say her boyfriend is out of the country. He wants to finish his master's program before he comes back. So in this case, there's a want, there's a need. Money expectations, you guys are kind of off. And then urgency. The families haven't started meeting. It doesn't look like there's a date on hand yet. Chances are this is not a person worth spending time with. Keep her phone number so you can keep sending her messages, sending her stuff to educate her, to build a relationship, things like that. So that maybe when she's done with NYC and maybe when her husband is back and the conversations resume again and now they have realistic expectations, you guys can move forward. But she's not a person worth spending time with right now. Then so that's stage two, and that is the qualification stage. How do I figure out that I'm talking to the right person? How do I figure out that I should continue investing time with this person? That's all qualification is about. Then stage three, how am I sure that they have a problem worth solving? That is the discovery stage. If they don't have a problem that is worth solving, they might be curious about the product or the service, but they are not going to buy. Sorry, excuse me. Except if they have money to waste. Because, like Stephanie said, there's some people who say, you know what, you're a fine girl, and so they buy from you. And it goes both ways. That's happened to me as well, because someone has bought from me because they thought I was a correct guy. You know, like, you're a correct guy, let me support your hustle, let me support your market. So it goes both ways. It happens. But outside of that happening, because people feel like they like your vibe, so they want to support you, they want to add to your success story, or they have so much money that it's not a problem, most people are not going to go forward if they do not have a problem. So you have this child's skincare line, but if the mom thinks that her child's skin is perfect, no blemish, no disease, no wrinkle, no pimple, no nothing, then there's nothing you can do. She doesn't think her child has a problem, she doesn't think her child has a problem. So just let it be. Even though she might be able to afford it, even though, okay, in that case, she doesn't think that there's a need. Or let's say in this case, there's a problem, but then she thinks like, okay, let's say the child has spots on the leg because he has been running into bushes and getting stung by insects. So if the mom is of the opinion that, oh yes, there's a problem here, my son has spotty skin or damaged skin, but he's a boy, that's how boys are supposed to grow. These things will go away over time. He'll be a teenager soon, so what's the problem? There's no big deal. In this case, there's a problem, but yes, she doesn't think it's a problem worth solving. So these are the three, these are the fundamental, these are the building blocks of the perfect sales process: prospecting, qualification, and discovery. Asking yourself, where are my customers who need my product or service? What is the plan? How am I going to go and meet them? I'm going to go and meet them exactly where they are. These people are not going to come and look for you in most cases. There's some people where customers will hunt you down, but that's not the universal business experience. Most of us have to go and chase people down, either online or offline. Number two, how am I sure that I'm talking to the right person so I can invest time with this person? Let me not talk to time wasters. That's number two. Number three, how am I sure that they have a problem worth solving? Because if there's a problem, but they think it's a small problem, or this problem will go away, or I'd rather spend money on much more serious problems, they are not going to buy. So, let's see. I think I have already gone into some details about what these sorts of things are. So I'm racking my brain. So I'm trying to see if there's anything I've left out. Okay, yes, there's something that I have left out. We're close. Okay, we already hit the 20-minute mark, so let me just wrap it up here. Now, there are other elements to the perfect sales process, but there's a reason why I've been sticking to these three, and I hinted at it earlier. The reason why I stick to these three, that's prospecting, qualification, and discovery, is because people already know of the other stages and already fascinated with the other stages. That's the reason why everybody wants to know, how do I close the deal? People have already started reading books on closing the deal, watching YouTube videos on closing the deal, getting materials on how to negotiate, getting material on how to price, or how do I handle objections? How do I deal with the reasons that they're giving for not buying? Blah, blah, blah. Those are the later stages of the deal. How to close, how to negotiate, how to price, how to handle objections, how to do a presentation, all that stuff. People are already fascinated with that. People already look for lots of materials about these sorts of things. But I stressed these three because none of these later skills matter if you are talking to the wrong person who might never be a potential customer in the first place. That is why these three are the most foundational things that you should be paying attention to. You can be a master at closing the deal, but if you're talking to the wrong person, you are not going to close that deal. Or you will close the deal and you're going to end up fighting with the customer because you missed something in the early stages, and so you sold them the wrong product, or they think you used sweet mouth to close the deal, and that you're a fraudster, you're a huckster, and then stuff like that. So all these other things are important, but the first three are foundational. It's the same thing with negotiating. What does it profit you to negotiate a sweet deal only to find out that you're dealing with the wrong person? I mean, you negotiate the deal, and when it comes to signing off, they don't want to sign, they're ghosting you, and blah, blah, blah. And it's because the customer has realized that there's a mismatch between what they want to achieve and this deal that they have on paper. It's the same thing with price. There are people who spend a lot of time pricing up and down, pricing, and then they go ghost on you. Reasonably so, because they were pricing just because they were curious. It's not as if they're ready to go ahead and take a decision right now, or because they don't think it was a big enough problem. So they were just pricing because they're curious. They just want to see what the market is, but they're not ready to take any decision now. So all these other things do not matter if we don't get these first three correctly. And the last part of the question, what makes this process foolproof? And the answer is you and I. What is required is discipline. What is required is consistent application of the process, of the framework that we come up with. We also take feedback from customers. We take feedback from the market. We take feedback from stakeholders, regulators, depending on what it is you do. Because remember, there was one lady there who was in the Medicare space. She owns her own hospital. So for her, feedback is not just from customers. It's also from market regulators, the government, local government councils, depending on what stage she's dealing at. So we take this feedback, we refine the processes. We also have to document the process so that we can delegate them to our business partners, delegate them to our husbands, our wives, our employees, our children, our sales team, our PA, your house girl, your house boy, whoever it is that you decide is going to sell on your behalf. We have to document these things so that we can, before we can delegate them. So that is what makes the process foolproof. It's you and it's me doing these things consistently and in a disciplined manner. So for Mary Kay, remember, hers was offline, and it was walking all over town. Walk to church, walk to someone's house, invite somebody to her own house, go and meet the person in the office. If Mary Kay didn't do that in a consistent, disciplined manner, it wouldn't have worked. If you visit one person's house today, you don't go out for the next 2 months. You go to a church meeting, and then you don't go out for 2 weeks, and then you make a presentation at the office to 200 people the month after. Your business is always going to be up and down. So if you're going to do this the Mary Kay route, you have to Mary Kay it consistently. this week, these are the offices that I'm going to. Next week, these are the houses that I'm visiting. The week after, these are the people I'm inviting to my own house. The week after that, these are the people that I'm inviting to my own office. And I'm sure you get the picture. And that's the reason why I used Stephanie's example in yesterday's episode. Sorry, the previous episode. Because what she does is quite a bit of work. Sometimes posting up to 20 times a day. I'm not saying you should post 20 times a day because it depends. For me, I'm managing my own social media. I only post, or rather, I repurpose 4 times a day. So, but the thing is, we have to be disciplined and we have to apply these things consistently. If you do it, it's going to be foolproof. And that's the reason why I said, let's stop trying to fudge. Don't look for a tip, don't look for a trick, don't look for a hack. If what you know is the Mary Kay style, and you have been taught the Mary Kay style, don't try to tip, trick, fudge, I don't know. Don't try to do, just do it. If that's what you've been taught and that's what you know, just do it. If you're doing it the Stephanie route, then you have to put in the reps. Stop looking for the tip, the perfect post that you will post now and you will go viral, bam, and then next thing you're a millionaire from one post. It doesn't work that way. Anyway, I think I've overstressed that, so let me just move on. So, on tomorrow's episode, we're going to tackle the second question on ways to get your staff to sell more. So, if you don't have a sales process, if you don't have a sales framework, if you're not starting off like Stephanie, or if you don't have the intuition that you should be Mary Kaying it to move your business forward, if you've been freestyling, depending on what seems to be working, you do Mary Kay today, you do Stephanie tomorrow, that's not the way forward. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Let's try and sort this out. Let's try and figure out what your own unique voice is, what the processes that you're already leaning into seem to be, and let's see how we can flesh it out. So that's all for today. Remember, subscribing to the show is free, even if you use Apple iTunes. We're confirmed on Apple iTunes, on Spotify, Google Podcast, Pocket Cast, Overcast, any podcast player of your choice. I was asked about Boom, or was it Boom? I really have to check Boom so I can add it to the list, make sure I'm available there. So remember, connect with me on LinkedIn. For those of you who know the spelling, or rather who don't know the spelling of my name is Tavishima Ayede. It's here in the podcast profile, in the player. Just have a look. My photo is there, email address is there, correct spelling of my name is there. Looking forward to meeting you guys and continuing with the conversations offline. So thanks for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys at the next episode.